Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the core ideas from the book Unifying Business, Data, and Code. And it all starts with a simple, powerful argument. The biggest threats to our projects are usually the ones we can't even see.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, our story doesn't begin in some modern tech office. Nope, we're actually going back in time to a 19th century hospital that was dealing with a deadly, invisible enemy. And trust me, the mystery they solved holds a huge lesson for all of us today.
Right, so this is the story of one doctor who managed to see a pattern that literally everyone else was missing, a pattern that was the difference between life and death.
So picture this. It's the 1840s. A Hungarian doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis is working at this top-notch clinic in Vienna, and he is just horrified. Women are coming in to have babies, and they're dying from this strange fever at an absolutely alarming rate. Nobody knew why.
So Semmelweis starts digging, playing detective, and he notices something really strange. The ward that was staffed by all the doctors and medical students, it had a terrifyingly high death rate. But the other ward, run by midwives just down the hall, was way safer. So what was the difference?
And then he connected the dots. The doctors, they were coming straight from performing autopsies over to the delivery room. His theory was, for the time, completely radical. He believed these invisible things, what he called cadaverous particles, were being carried from the dead to the new mothers, and that's what was making them sick.
So based on this wild idea, he proposed a solution that was just profoundly simple. Before you examine a single patient, he said, every single doctor has to wash their hands in this chlorine solution. The idea was to just destroy these invisible contaminants.
And the results? Well, they were immediate and absolutely staggering. I mean, look at this. The mortality rate in his ward just plummeted, from a horrific 18% all the way down to just 2%. The data was undeniable. He was saving lives, plain and simple.
So you'd think he'd be hailed as a hero, right? Well, no. Here's the crucial part. Despite this overwhelming proof, his idea was totally dismissed. Why? Because it just flew in the face of what all the established doctors believed. And since germ theory wasn't a thing yet, he couldn't scientifically explain the why in a way they'd accept.
And this brings us right into the modern workplace, because that powerful lesson from history, it has a direct parallel inside our own organizations, where the invisible problems can be just as deadly to our projects.
Okay, so let's see how this plays out today, because the germs inside a company aren't biological, right? They're conceptual, but they are just as dangerous.
The book boils it down to these 3 hidden threats that mess up what it calls your data hygiene. There's ambiguity, where one word means 5 different things to 5 different people. There are knowledge gaps where critical info is just missing. And then there are blind spots where you don't even know what you don't know.
Now this is where it gets really useful. The book maps out where these invisible killers hide, and it argues that we have to look at our companies from 3 different levels of zoom to actually spot them. First up, you've got the zoom-out view. Think of it like the 30,000-foot perspective. It's how your people, your policies, and your technology all interact. This is where those infamous departmental silos get built and where big-picture strategic misalignment starts.
Then we zoom into the human scale. This is our day-to-day. This is where ambiguity really thrives. Just think about a simple word like customer. To the sales team, it means one thing, to marketing, something slightly different, and to the support team, something else entirely. Those tiny misunderstandings create massive problems down the line.
And finally, we zoom all the way into the data itself. This is the bedrock, the absolute foundation of everything. If the structure and meaning of your data are flawed right here at the most basic level, then everything you try to build on top of it is gonna be unstable. So what happens when these 3 levels are all out of sync? Well, it leads to one of the most common and most expensive problems in business today.
The book calls this the problem with problems, and it's a fantastic question to ask. Are your teams working their tails off to solve an issue that isn't even the most important one? Or even worse, are they just fixing a symptom instead of the actual root cause?
This image just nails the disconnect, doesn't it? Your leaders often have this top-down strategic vision, while the tech and data teams on the ground are living the bottom-up operational reality. When those 2 worlds don't meet in the middle and align, you just get a whole lot of waste.
And here's a really critical insight. We all love being agile, right? Being fast and iterative is great. But if you're sprinting as fast as you can in the wrong direction, you're just getting to the wrong destination sooner. And that's what the book calls agile theater. It looks like progress, it feels like progress, but it's not actually getting you where you need to go.
So if all this misalignment and ambiguity are the invisible germs, what's the solution? What's the equivalent of Dr. Semmelweis's simple, powerful hand-washing for our modern data problems?
Well, the book proposes something called concept-first design. It's all about getting everyone, the business folks, the data folks, the tech folks, to agree on a single shared map of the core ideas and the business logic before a single line of code gets written or a single dashboard gets built.
And the benefits of doing this are just huge. You get real clarity, you get everybody aligned from day one. You start to see the whole picture instead of just your little piece of it. And you keep the focus on the user. It's really about finding the mistakes when they're just ideas on a whiteboard, not expensive messes in your system.
And honestly, this has never, ever been more important than it is right now. We're living in the age of AI, and this statement is the absolute fundamental truth. If your data foundation is shaky, if it's built on ambiguity, your AI is only going to amplify those flaws. It's not going to magically fix them.
So the crucial takeaway here is to really ask yourself this question. Ask it about your teams and your projects, because just like those doctors back in the 19th century, what you can't see inside your own organization can and absolutely will hurt your results. The first step is just learning how to see it.